Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm here today with Meghann Maguire. She played field hockey at Fairfield University, and now she's a digital strategy analyst for the Orlando Magic. So I'm really excited to have her on here today. Hi, Meghann.
Hi, Jane. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So I just wanted to start off by asking you a little bit about, your collegiate athletic experience and how that sort of contributed to your career path.
Yeah, so I went to Fairfield. I started there in 2017 on the field hockey team. And at first, I was a bio major in college. And then after my first semester, I realized I wanted to be in business. So I switched to the business school and ended up majoring in finance and marketing. And I loved the field hockey team. I loved my experience. But in 2019, I had a really bad back injury that was career ending, supposed to be career ending. So I was kind of out of the sport for a year, kind of on the sidelines, cheering on my teammates, taking a different role, kind of more as like a sideline coach instead of an athlete. And that made me realize that I couldn't be without sports in the future. So then going into my senior year, COVID had just happened. And that summer, I was just walking every day. I didn't pick up my field hockey sticks. I couldn't bend over at all. And that year started, and I thankfully was able to play one more season. It was only 6 games, but it meant the world to me. And during that last semester of college, I was thinking about going into finance, but I knew that sports were what I wanted to do. And that past year, I had done a mentorship program with NBC Sports and the Women's Sports Foundation, where I was paired with a mentor at NBC Sports and Finance. And he kind of taught me everything about the sports business landscape. I didn't know anything about sports business. Being an athlete at Fairfield, I didn't have much time to kind of investigate that field. So that last semester, they reached out to me and told me that there is a grad program at UCF that they had a spot for one person to do. So I decided to apply and take that risk to go to grad school to learn more about sports business. So then I ended up going to UCF. And while at UCF, I was able to immerse myself in different projects involving sports and eventually ended up as an intern at the LPGA, which led to my career path in analytics today.
Can you talk a little bit? I know your career ended a little early because of COVID and also injury. Can you talk a little bit about, sort of finding your identity outside of sports? I know for me, I can't really see a life without sports in it in some shape or way once my playing career is over. But, I think it is important while you're still in your sport and while you're still in college to sort of find other things that you're passionate about. Because I know for a lot of people that they don't, and then their sport will end abruptly and they sort of feel stuck. So can you talk a little bit about that transition period for you?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult, like kind of having my career halted so suddenly. So at that time I was kind of turning to walking and then focusing more just on spending time with friends and family and as well as traveling when I could start to travel again. And then once I finished Fairfield and came down to Florida, I was introduced to golf, and that's kind of like a way for me to still kind of be like in an athlete space in a sense while not being able to play field hockey. So I love now to go out on the weekends with friends and play golf. I also turned to pickleball, so you still get that competitive sense, which
Yeah.
has helped me a lot. And then I love to travel, so during the summer I go on a couple trips. Yeah, but it's definitely hard to find your identity once college athletics are over.
Yeah. I think something that has helped me sort of in my last couple years at Canisius is immersing myself in different aspects. I was a part of SAC and I was a part of a couple other organizations on campus, which they were still involved in athletics, but it was a way for me to sort of find my voice and do other things outside of just playing my sport, which I feel has helped me in, this transition period as I'm going to a new school, as well as will help me once I finish playing basketball.
That's great. Yeah. It's good to be able to do those other activities and kind of find new groups of people that maybe haven't been in the athlete space like you have. Was able to learn when I went to UCF, where the program, it was a small cohort where there was former athletes, and then there was also just people that had been working in sports, so they weren't athletes. So it was good for me to learn from them and how they've kind of navigated things.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about your mentorship program and how, and the importance of mentorship and how that sort of influenced your career path.
Yeah, so I love the mentorship program. I really didn't know much about sports business. There's just so many different lanes like partnerships, analytics, sales, etc. And that I think it was my 2019 fall, our school career center had a visit to NBC Sports. So I decided to go on that visit. And I was able to see like what NBC Sports was. I was amazed. I ended up calling my mom and I was like, this place is amazing. Like, I'm going to work here. And then the mentorship program application opened up and I ended up getting that. And we were able to talk one-on-one with our mentors throughout a whole semester, but then we also had like gatherings as a whole with the other mentees. I think there was about 10 of us where we were going through like how to make our resumes, which I hadn't really done at that point because I was so focused on field hockey. Like how to do a good interview. The Women's Sports Foundation was great. They ran the whole thing and they also were mentors to me throughout the process. So I think overall, it just showed me that there are lanes in sports business, which I had no idea. Like I didn't know much about analytics at that time.
Yeah, like what made you want to go into analytics? Because I know like that's a field that I didn't really have an idea about. Like when I would think about sports business, I sort of just thought about like sports marketing in my eyes. But I've come to really enjoy analytics, and I think that that's something that I'm really interested in.
Yeah, so I didn't have a lot of exposure to it. In college, I took a marketing research class, which kind of dove into it a little bit. And I always knew that I liked numbers and data, but I thought the only path was finance. So then kind of through the mentorship program and then in grad school, I was introduced to it in a course and then kind of more so in my internship. My LPGA internship was the first time I was really just doing like hands-on analytics. And that made me realize like, yes, I do want to stay in this. I don't want to go and explore another part of sports business.
And then my last question for you is, do you have any sort of career advice for any athletes either entering their last year of college athletics or in this transition period right now where they're in the middle of their job search?
I definitely say to set goals for yourself. I'm sure many athletes have already been doing that, but like for me, when I was graduating, I set goals that I wanted to achieve like in my career journey. And then also don't be afraid to take a risk, whether that's like with a job or like grad school. I moved to Florida. I didn't know anybody in Orlando, but I knew like it was my passion. So I took that risk. Definitely important to build your network. People want to help, so reach out to mentors that you already have, but then also you could also reach out on LinkedIn. I did that when I was in grad school to develop those connections with people that were working in analytics so I could kind of learn one-on-one what they're doing in their jobs. And then for those that are still kind of in college, also utilizing your career center because they can be a resource as well at the college. I ended up being a career peer advisor my senior year because I loved what the career center was doing. And they often do like interviews, like practice interviews or shadowing or like job visits, like how I did the NBC Sports one. So I'd say those are definitely things to keep in mind. And then for those athletes that may have like a little more time, if there's ways that they can volunteer like in their athletic department or something outside of their season, that's a good way to kind of learn more about athletics if you're interested in the sports business side of things.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people who play sports will say like they don't have the time or they'll use like the fact that they were an athlete as an excuse to not have any experience. But even on your own campus, like there are so many resources that you can take advantage of, or even like on campus internship opportunities within the athletic department, which I was able to take advantage of, which was really awesome. And I know like there's always a ton of opportunities for athletes if that's something that they are interested in.
Exactly. I agree. And I feel like the jobs on campus have definitely grown over the last couple of years with more like content creation, like the digital side of things. So it's definitely an avenue that people can take.